Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nai Nicole, and I am the host of the podcast One Strong Hand, and it highlights and talks about self-care, self-development, resilience, and disability advocacy. Thank you for joining me yet again. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you find this message or this podcast really good and something that you can take with you and something that resonates. So today I wanted to talk about, exploring the idea and the themes of healing in private versus healing in public. And as I've said before, I love keeping my laptop close to me because it just keeps me on track when it comes to these topics. So if you see me looking over, I'm looking at my laptop. I have been scripting and writing, and I love writing down all of my ideas and the things that I want to say. I love writing them down because, again, it just keeps me on track. A lot of people wrestle with the idea or the theme of healing in private versus healing in public because both paths have their place and both come with unique challenges and rewards, and there's no single right way, just what works for you in that particular season that you're in. Healing in private often means keeping your process close to your chest. So not really saying too much to other people. I mean, I know that when I heal in private, I love to script, I love to journal. I love healing my inner child, whether that be with coloring books, whether that be, watching cartoons, whatever the case may be that heals my inner child, but also doing deep healing of crying it out, writing out things that have been affecting me on the day-to-day process or life, and crying it out, burning those papers or throwing them away. However, I like to unleash those parts of myself that sometimes will just stay dormant are some ways that I love to heal. And so doing things like journaling, talking to a friend, family, simply sitting with your emotions. Like I stated with me, I love to journal and to write out what it is that I'm feeling because it's really important. Better out than in. It makes it easier to process when you are able to see what it is that you're feeling, and just making sure that when you're writing, it's about personal reflection and processing at your own pace and deciding when or if ever you want to share it. And maybe just with, when you're writing in journals or diaries, you don't have to share it, but it feels nice to see what issues that you're having, see what problems you're having so you can address them. And the benefit, obviously privacy gives space, and sometimes you need space in order to heal all aspects of yourself. One thing I will say when it comes to healing, just in general, whether it be healing in private or public, is that it takes, and it's not just a solo journey. Now, granted, your private healing aspects, absolutely, but when you're healing in public, you're healing parts of yourself that also interact with people. You're healing your relationships, you're healing your family, your family relationships, you're healing all of that. And healing, I think sometimes people might get it confused, is that, you can't only do healing in the privacy of your own home with you. You have to heal when it comes to other people, especially if you have like relationship trauma, just like with me. Like I've had relationship trauma before, and I thought that, oh, I'm just going to heal, by myself. I'm going to journal, I'm going to do XYZ, but it's like, well, a lot of the relationship trauma that I have or some other people have, you actually have to address that in the relationship that you're in currently with someone, or that the relationship that you're going to be currently in with someone. Everyone likes to talk about, oh, you have to be healed before you jump into a relationship. Well, it's like, well, some of the healing that you have to do actually has to be addressed in the relationships that you're in, because there's certain things that you're not going to know that you're fully healed from unless you're interacting with other people. And so it's really important to really have that dynamic and that balance of healing in private and healing in public, and healing with people closest to you. And of course, not taking it out on the people, whether you're in a relationship or, family dynamic, not taking it out on those people because of past situations, but understanding that those issues will sometimes arise, especially in your current relationship. So let's say if, your previous partner was someone who just, I guess, like to minimize you or like to make you feel less than. And so now your current partner makes you feel great, but then it might cause some trigger within you, like, wait, is this is how it's supposed to be? Like, so you have to just make sure that you are understanding how to heal and not take it out on other people, but then also how to address it within yourself too. So, which is really important. So, defining healing in public. So on the other hand, like I said, healing in public means being open about your process. This could look like posting online, joining group discussions, or sharing your story with the community. Public healing can create connection, and so, which is why I also started One Strong Hand. I have a disability. I was born with a radial club hand. I've also had minor scoliosis, or I have minor scoliosis. I've had pseudotumor. I've had a lot in my 33 years of life, but that's why I created One Strong Hand, because healing does create community, especially when you're talking about things that people might also relate to. It's very important to share your story too. If you're comfortable with it, sharing your story helps somebody else. And I'm sure there were times where you needed like a message, or you needed some type of video or something that inspired you to really step more into yourself, and that person that you were watching or that person that you were listening to helped you and guided you into maybe something you wanted to do. And so it's kind of a ripple effect. So others help you and you help others. And so, of course, again, if you're comfortable with doing that, but I think it's important that public healing can create a connection. It lets others know that they aren't alone, and they can bring support from unexpected places. So it also comes with exposure, just understanding that it comes with a lot of exposure and vulnerability. I mean, really opening yourself up to public views is a lot, because people can be crazy. You have some crazy people online. You have crazy people in public. Wherever it may be that you are exposing yourself, crazy people are going to be there. And so just learning how to be strong in those instances, but also, again, if you're wanting to expose yourself in that way, absolutely do so, because it can help people. But just, bear in mind that there are going to be some people that have some criticism, that have, something negative to say. But on the flip side, you also have people that will invite compassion and will invite conversation into those spaces. So it's there's two ends of the spectrum that you unfortunately can invite. But it's about just protecting yourself. Like, even if you see those negative remarks, or it doesn't feel as conducive, you just got to brush it off, because at the end of the day, people have their own healing that they have to do, and they will always try to say negative things only because they are unhappy with themselves. So just understand that it's never you, it's that person. So which is better, when it comes to the tension between healing in private and healing in public. Healing in private can feel safer, but sometimes it isolates. And so, again, going back to healing in private and journaling and crying it out, and burning the paper, if you writing something down where it might be a little self-deprecating, like something that releases you from those thoughts. Healing in private can definitely be isolating, and it could be a good or a bad thing depending on how you take it and how you handle it. But I think it's important to also know that when you are healing in private, yes, it does isolate you, but isolation sometimes can be good, because you do need it for your mental health, and it's important. But just having that understanding that there's a thin line between isolating for your mental health and for some quiet time, and then isolating and shutting people out, And so healing in private, of course, like I said, can be safer, but it can isolate. Healing in public can feel empowering, but it can also invite opinions you may not be ready to handle. So again, talking about the negative discourse that you may receive either online or when you're posting, or whatever the case may be. There's kind of a little bit of a pro and con with both healing in public and healing in private, and just understanding that there's a thin line between, again, the isolation. You're isolating because sometimes you need it for just that mental reprieve and just bouncing back. But then isolating, you can also push people away when you're trying to heal. And I've been both. I've been both before, to where I've pushed really good friendships away. It was like my trauma was causing me to not think clearly, and to think that everyone was a bad guy, when those people were great, but I lost some great friendships because I isolated and pushed people away when I was trying to heal, as opposed to learning how to use my discernment and like, no, these people are good for you. Like, people are good for your soul, but you just had bad experiences in the past. That doesn't define every person that you come across. But you just, again, you have to use your self-discernment. Personal pace and readiness is very important. A key question is readiness. Are you sharing from an open wound or from a scar that started to strengthen? And kind of going back to what I stated about just with my journey with healing, and how when I've isolated myself in healing in private, I pushed people away. And so that was coming from an open wound from past either relationships trauma or friendship trauma, whatever the case may be. That healing wasn't really healing. It was just caused from an open wound and pushing people away when I thought I was healing in private, when I really, like, I was still needing to be healed. And so, private healing lets you prepare before stepping out into the public eye. And so again, using your discernment, if you are private healing, it does make you stronger, but also just understanding that you're not pushing people away as you are healing. You can have your boundaries, you can have your moments of silence and quiet, and my phone is on D&D, like everything's on D&D. That's totally fine. But pushing people away means you're destroying or messing up those relationships just because you're like, no, I need to go heal. Goodbye. So you just using your discernment. But again, private healing does help you strengthen yourself for the public eye. So if you were to talk about, your struggles and your healing and your strengths and how far you've come in the public eye, it does help when you private heal, because you're able to address not only your triggers and your traumas, but it allows you to speak more freely. I used to cry, like when I was trying to talk to people about my journey and the things that I've been through. I used to cry because, and nothing ever is wrong with crying, but just with my personal journey, I can now speak to people about the things I've been through without having to shed a tear, because I've healed. Not saying that I'm fully healed, but I have healed from the things that kind of triggered a response in me that made me want to either shut myself out from the world or, to cry, And so again, nothing is wrong with crying, but just as a personal experience, I can now talk about things without having to shed a tear and just talk. So it's really important, to private heal. Again, public healing might accelerate the process by adding accountability or perspective. So again, talking about my private healing and now just speaking publicly, it does give me a added accountability or perspective or trajectory of my life and what I've been through. And sometimes it takes that, when you're talking out loud to other people and when you're having these discourses, it actually makes you reflect even more, because you're like, wow, I've been through a lot. So how can I heal even further, or what can I do even further to not only better myself, but to also be possibly an inspiration for other people? So, both are valid, but timing definitely matters when it comes to it. So just, again, making sure that when you're private healing, don't push people away, especially, when you are utilizing your discernment. Those good relationships, keep those good relationships, because you need a foundation, you need a village when it comes to your healing. Even if it is private, healing in private, you still need a village behind you. Even if you're like a solo warrior for a little bit, you have your team behind you, and it's important. Also, how the environment shapes the choice. Environment also plays a huge role when it comes to your healing, whether it be private or public. Some people have communities that are supportive and nurturing, and it makes public healing easier. So again, like I stated, just when you are healing, even if it is alone or even if it is in public healing, it's important to savor those relationships that are healing and that are fulfilling, and because it does make the public healing that much easier. I mean, even with this journey of me starting One Strong Hand, I don't think I was as nervous as I used to be about, just really talking about my journey. But I think when I started talking to like my family, my significant other, my friends, like they all have been really supportive with this journey. And so it makes the public healing even more, like even now I'm healing, like I'm healing myself through talking to other people and talking to myself through this process. And that's amazing. That's important to do. And so others might be surrounded by judgment or misunderstanding. where privacy feels like a safer path. And so, again, talking about the communities and the people that you surround yourself with, just be careful about the people that you tell some of your business to. And again, using that discernment, because some people might not be as supportive. And if they're not supportive, even in, your down times and the times that you are feeling down, those are not your people. You need people that they don't have to be on call with you all the time. They don't have to be hip to hip with you, but it's very important that when you tell somebody something, pay attention to their responses, especially when it comes to your healing. You don't want people that are filled with judgment that are surrounding you, because that does affect not only your public healing, but that affects your private healing too. And then that's when the self-deprecation starts. That's when the overthinking starts. That's just when a lot of other things arise that you don't need. You're already trying to heal from, earlier traumas or previous traumas. And so context shapes which option feels sustainable. And so just making sure that, again, that you are paying attention to the people that are in your life. Keep those safe people close to you, those safe people surrounding you, as like a barrier, as your team, your crew. Even if you are doing this alone, or feel like you're quote unquote doing this alone and just kind of in an isolation phase to where you just need some moments of quiet, that you still have people that back you up and that are there for you regardless. So some closing thoughts. Healing does not follow a straight line, and it doesn't have to look the same for everyone. Some chapters may be quiet and private. Others may be shared openly, whether through conversation, art, or advocacy. The most important part isn't whether it's public or private. It's that the healing is real and the healing is yours. Because healing in any form is still progress. Again, whether it's in private or whether it's in public. Now let's go ahead and pick up one of these affirmation cards to see what is the message for the day that you can take with you. And I love pulling these affirmation cards because it really does help. Even when I'm reading them, I'm like, that actually resonates with what it is that I need at the moment, and what it is I can take with me, and whatever life is bringing to me. A lot of these messages really do help. So let me go ahead and pull. All right, so the affirmation card of the day is gratitude for growth. With a heart brimming with gratitude, I cherish the invaluable growth and profound transformation that has blossomed from the tapestry of my past experiences. I think I've done this one already. I have done this one already. No, we need a new one. We need a new one. I'm just going to pick a random card in the middle because I feel like I've done that already. I have like 60 cards in here. Crazy. So here's the new card. New card is inner peace. I cultivate inner peace and serenity within myself. I release the negative emotions and thoughts that do not serve me and focus on the present moment. I am calm and I am at peace no matter what is happening around me. So something to take with you for this upcoming week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for joining yet again. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.